how to insert values into your marketing. Personal values, company values, whatever values you like. We're going to be talking about his book as well. Brand Strategy in 3 Steps, a purpose-driven approach to branding. Before we get into the conversation, Jay, where can people find you?
People can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So if you message me on LinkedIn, I sometimes tell my students, send me a LinkedIn message before you send me a message to the school email. And you can find me at jaymandel.com, and I'm on all socials as well.
Fantastic. And congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I've joined you as a published Kogan Page author. So
yes,
it's a big honor.
You've got one as well, have you?
Yeah, I got one too. I got my book.
So tell us, what was the inspiration behind the book?
Well, the inspiration behind the book was that I talked to a person 3-4 years ago that I respected a lot. His name is Mark Weiner, and he had written a book with Kogan Page, and he told me that he thought that I could write a book too. And I really didn't believe that I could. And then I realized that I had a lot to say. And then I called the editor and had a conversation with her. And she said, "You have 5 books inside of you. Why didn't you pick one?" And I'm like, okay. And I was really humbled to be given the honor to have a topic like this, brand strategy in 3 steps. So really inspiration, in addition to my friend Mark Weiner and the words of encouragement from Kogan Page, I've been teaching this topic 5 years in universities.
Because you've worked at Mastercard and IBM, big corporate organizations.
Yes. So for the first 20 years of my career, I experienced brand strategy in 3 steps. I just didn't know it. and then I started teaching the topic. And for the last 5 years, I've been teaching the topic. And I realized that I have a methodology here. And that's what this book is. And it's just been the methodology that's been refined from my corporate experience, my entrepreneurial experience, my teaching experience, my coaching experience.
So, explain to us what value-based marketing or values as an individual. Explain to us that.
Yeah. So I worked in corporate America for all these years, and I was laid off. And when I was laid off, I did some soul searching. It was right before my 40th birthday.
Okay.
And it was the first time I was ever laid off. I felt like I was immune, but I really wasn't. No one is immune. And when I defined my core values at a workshop at Columbia University, I defined those values to be candor, curiosity, and collaboration. And I realized at that time that those 3 values were not apparent to me in my corporate setting. They weren't apparent to me in a lot of aspects of my personal life. And I decided to make very significant changes to how I showed up in the world. And so those values really had an impact on me. And then I realized that the marketing that doesn't have values, the marketing that is superficial, the marketing that is just out in the world, that is just transactional, just trying to trick someone, doesn't work anymore. And so basically that's the impetus. I really realized that something better has to go on if you want to earn the trust and respect of people that are going to buy something from you. And that has to start with values. So what the book does is it says, okay, what are your values? And then how are you going to apply those values personally to help you find the right type of job, whether it be corporate or entrepreneurial or whatever it may be? And then how are you going to take those values and apply it to your work?
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah. And I think that by you finding your values yourself and then applying it to work is in a way the way that you're going to get the brand to have values. I mean, obviously you can do it from a top-down perspective, but if you as a team or individuals are going to work and saying, well, this is what I stand for, then that's going to reflect in the brand as well.
It does. And when your brand stands for something, that means that you have to also say no.
Yes.
Someone once told me that no is the most powerful word in the English language. And if your brand is just saying yes, 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 and doing whatever it may be, oh, this product will make us some money, let's just put it out in the world, it's not going to work. So when you know what your values are, you know what to say yes to, and you know what to say no to, and it's very clear.
When we met pre this call, the first thing you said to me, "What are your values?" And I was like kind of taken aback. I'd read the book, but I thought I hadn't sort of. So I'm actually processing that at the moment.
Yeah, we'll
So
take a while.
come back to you and say, I can't come back to you and say these are my things, but I am thinking about it.
Well, that's exactly right. Everyone has values, but I think if you take the time to document them, and this is the first thing I do with every student that I have in my class, it's the first thing I do with any coaching client that I take on. It's what are your values? So if you define candor, curiosity, and collaboration, and it won't be perfect, but if you define that, you're going to know how to measure if you've achieved it or not. So then when you do yearly goals, okay, did I collaborate? Did I express things with candor that other people might not have said? Have I exhibited curiosity in the way I go about my business? Yeah. So you have the values. I know you do. You are very clearly a values-driven individual. But I encourage you to keep on processing it and then write them down. And I'd like to see them on that wall one day.
Yeah, and the thing is that I quite like curiosity from yours, but I keep thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't. I shouldn't be copying Jay. You know,
no, everyone has
curiosity is one of the things that I love. So it's and asking questions.
Whatever it is that you do will be personal for you, and you can have curiosity as a value, as my gift to you. It's not my gift to you. It's the gift to the world.
Thank you. I'm still processing it. So, one of the things, the thing about the book, one of the many things I love about the book, Jay, is the fact that you work through and enabling people to come up with those values as they actually read it. You talk about the first 5 chapters about personal values.
Yeah.
And you actually have a structured exercise in there about that, don't you?
It's very similar to the exercise that I did at Columbia University. After I did that work at Columbia University, one of the first people that gave me a break in business is a man named Brian Solis, who is an analyst, and he's very active on social media.
I've actually met Brian and shaken.
Yeah, everyone's met Brian. He's a very
I've met, yes, and I went up to him at a conference and said,
yeah, he's a very charismatic guy. And
hello, Brian. I'm Tim Hughes. I'm on social media, and he, oh yeah, I know you did. He's a lovely guy.
He's a lovely guy, and he wrote a book a couple years ago where. I don't know what happened here. Oh, decline. Sorry. He wrote a book, and in his book, he had values as a very central part of it. So that also helped me in my process of sort of defining how to do values. But another thing that helped me in my process of doing values is the OG Seth Godin. So it's more than just defining what those values are. What Seth Godin does is this thing called the simple marketing promise. And he says, my product is for people who believe. I'll focus on people who want. And I promise that engaging with what I make will help you get. So when you do that simple marketing promise and you tag that onto your values, it starts to give it intention. So we have identity as the first thing that we do. And then intention is, okay, so now that we understand those values, to what end will those values be sort of put out into the world? My product is for people who believe. I'll focus on people who want. So you're starting to understand that the people that want this is exactly what you're going to deliver. Mm-hmm. And so by doing that promise so that would be like chapter 3 or something like that. So we take that promise and then we start to say, okay, what does the world of marketing look like today? And that's how we transition from, okay, this is now going from your values to values that you can successfully apply in your work setting.
In a way, I feel it's a bit like having affirmation in terms of, every day we get up, we have this, set of affirmations that we read about what we want to do. But in a way, what we're doing with our values and the simple marketing promise is doing that from a business perspective, aren't we? We're saying this is how we want to live. This is the way that we want to be.
That's exactly right. And it's really remarkable. I'll give you something that I don't know if I should, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay.
In therapy, I talk to my therapist all the time, and he says, Jay, the way that you manage your business, there are lots of parallels to the way that you can and should manage your personal life, the relationships with your children, the relationships with your ex, the relationships with this and that. So, I've always had a hard time sort of separating, delineating, okay, I'm at work, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I really have figured out that as a business person, as a person that wakes up in the morning, as a person that creates a schedule for my day, as a person who sort of works through things in a methodical way in business. Well, I have a kid with ADD, attention deficit disorder, and autism. And the things that I do to structure myself, I am bringing into my personal life more and more because my son needs it. So these things that we're talking about in this book, it is a business book. It's a serious business book by a serious business publisher. But the way that I got to those things and the constant flow of discovery that I'm having personally and professionally is circular. And it's definitely affecting my productivity as an employee of my own company, but also as a dad and just an individual in general.
So we've gone through in terms of the book, personal values and the structured exercise. We then look at the simple marketing promise, and then you start moving on in terms of the changes have taken place.
Yeah, and the changes are significant. I mean, when I teach a marketing class, I'm embarrassed to put up AIDA. I'm embarrassed to talk about segmentation in the way that people talk about segmentation. That one time in a class that I was teaching, I was saying, so who are you talking to? Is it a he or a she? And the person said, no, it's neither. And I realized at that moment that there's a lot more to segmentation than I am targeting you. You are my target audience. There's jobs to be done, which is a whole different way to segment people, which is more about what is the thing that you're selling going to do for people. And so when you think about segmentation, you cannot think in that linear sort of closed, boxed in approach anymore. You have to start to think of who is this person? What does this person need from you? How are you going to participate? And so the other thing you need to think about is just the sort of the way to do omni-channel digital marketing in a sophisticated way that allows all the things that you put into the world to just be harmonious with each other. Because you don't know when and how people are going to engage with you, but you do know this, that when they do engage with you, you need to say the right thing at the right time. So increasingly, what I'm saying is that in a world where there are lots of triggers and there are lots of prompts are becoming incredibly important in marketing. ChatGPT is here and it's here to stay. And I'm getting really good at working ChatGPT, but it's not going to be based on, hey, can you write a paragraph about why marketing is great? No, if you write a paragraph about how a person in New York who is suffering with mental illness and experiencing anxiety, what are the troubles that person has in a day, and how could this very specific product help to address that? Then you could start to tell a story. So that was chapter 6, sort of describing the state of marketing. And then we start to get into what strategy. And believe me, Tim, I know you've probably experienced this, but when I was in college and when I teach college classes, people still don't understand the difference between tactics and strategy.
No, they don't.
And people will even go out there and say, hey, I'm doing a marketing strategy. We're going to do Facebook ads. I'm like, that's not a strategy.
That's not a strategy.
That's a tactic.
Tactic, yeah.
So what are you going to say on the ads? I don't know. I mean, that was one of those cartoons that I use all the time from the Marketoonist. You know, at the end of the day, the story that you tell has to come from your values.
Mm.
So later in the chapter, when you start to look at chapters 7, 8, 9, we're
Yeah.
getting into all these little tips and tricks and techniques that we use for strategy. Some are things that you've seen before, and you know you will see again. But there are others like the nesting doll strategy, which I've used, and it really helps you to narrow down what's in it for you as a brand and what's in it for the customer. And by solving what's in it for the customer, you're solving what's in it for you as the brand. And that's something that came from Julian Cole. And Julian Cole is a strategist who's online. And I spend a lot of time just watching his stuff. And I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. And so what happens when you start to reflect the things I'm talking about, like simple marketing promise or nesting doll strategy, they tend to harmoniously answer questions that you had in this organic, natural way. They may solve like 3 or 4 things together, but as you do these exercises, you're going to see them in different ways, and that will really help you to unravel what your marketing can and should be.
So when people talk a lot at the moment in marketing about creating movements and things like that, is this something is about understanding your values and having the simple marketing promise? Is that something that will enable us ultimately to create a movement?
Yeah, I mean, in my book, my little Easter egg is that I created this movement right before your eyes. My book is my movement. So the question for you is, what is your movement? I think your movement definitely has to do with social selling. And
I have a movement, Jay.
Yes, tell us about your movement.
I have a movement. But this is about you. So
I know it's about me, but at the end of the day, anyone who you encounter, like, if you know your values and you know what you're trying to achieve, then it starts to materialize. People start to believe you. When I didn't have a movement, I couldn't sell myself as a marketer. Mm-hmm. It was really remarkable. When I needed the money the most, I would be like, oh, this project is coming through and I'm doing all the right things, but I just didn't have the movement. Now I have a methodology. I have a process. I have steps. My movement is not about doing the work for you. The movement is about empowering you as an individual to do the work for yourself so that you and your company could start to realize the benefits. You can't outsource marketing. So that's what the movement is about. And your movement could be something about, like, I love baseball. I want to go to every baseball game. It could be something personal. It could be something professional. It could be the intersection of those things. And that's what my process really helps people to figure out.
We had a conversation when we did the preparation call about air conditioners.
We did.
And so why don't you tell the air conditioning story? Because it's a great
story because
differential and the way that the market is changing.
Well, exactly. That's exactly right. So I just moved into a new apartment and I actually had to shut off my air conditioning. I might start sweating now because it was so loud and I didn't want to interrupt the flow. But I looked and I live in the New York City metropolitan area. And in the New York City metropolitan area, we have in-wall unit air conditioners. And I went on Amazon and happy Prime Day, by the way, Tim. I hope
thank you. Happy Prime Day to you as well.
Yes. I went on Amazon.com and I started looking at these air conditioners and they're like hideous. It's like, what happened? Why am I buying an air conditioner that is somewhat reasonable, but it doesn't even have electrical things? It's like little things that go back like from 1980.
Because you run things off Alexa, don't you?
Yeah, I run things off Alexa. Why would I buy an air conditioner that doesn't run things off of Alexa? And so I had a certain price range, but I'm like, nothing is doing it. Everything is ugly. Everything seems loud. Everything seems bad. And then what happens after I start to see these crappy air conditioners on Walmart and all the different sites that I see, I was interrupted by an ad for a person who went on Kickstarter and reinvented what an air conditioner can and should be. That's what I'm talking about here. At the end of the day, there was a seed planted in my mind on Amazon or wherever I was looking, saying, I need a better air conditioner. I don't want a crappy, ugly air conditioner in my apartment. I want something more suitable. And then somehow, some way, through all the technology that was that's put out in the world, I planted a seed that says, I want a better air conditioner. Then all of a sudden in my Google searches, I'm seeing, I think it was called June. That's the name of the air conditioner. And it was just this beautiful air conditioner that's easy to install, unlike other air conditioners. It's efficient, and it connects with all my devices. That is what we're talking about. Someone started that movement and said, I am not happy with it. And then the people that are experiencing the moment that I felt, where I'm like, I'm not happy with what's out there, that was the marriage of me and that movement.
Jay, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And also for Jay's book is Brand Strategy in 3 Steps, a purpose-driven approach to branding. And as you can see, I'm still pondering my values, but I will come up with something. I will promise you.
You will, and I know you will, because I could just feel it. So thank you for having me, Tim.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Good. And where can people find you, Jay?
Jaymandel.com. And again, LinkedIn, just send me a LinkedIn request. I won't be shy. If your LinkedIn request is not generic, I will reply to you.
Yes. And please send a note saying you saw Jay on this show or something like that.
Yes, I really appreciate
I saw Jay on the show and he's rubbish. Whatever it is, just send a message.
A real note. That is all about values.
Be a human being.
That's right.
Jay, thank you so much for today. I really